Welcome back, everyone, to this special edition of Dale's Rails. After checking my analytics, I noticed that I reached 200 subscribers, and I would like to take this time to thank each and every one of the subscribers who took the time to subscribe to this channel. And this week's episode will be dedicated to the post-war era of Marx and Lionel, specifically the diesels and the Santa Fe Railroad. I'd like to start with a little history of the Santa Fe Railroad. And this week's Nerdvana question is about the Santa Fe Railroad route. And so the question is, what significant landmark was used to establish the Santa Fe Railroad route? For those of you who are stumped somehow, I will have the answer for you at the end of this session. So first, a little bit about the Santa Fe Railroad. The Santa Fe Railroad was known by its Native American motif. The Santa Fe Railroad adopted the Indian chief imagery as a symbol for their flagship passenger train, the Super Chief, due to its iconic war bonnet paint scheme, which featured a design resembling a Native American Indian headdress, paying homage by representing the Native American culture prevalent in the regions it traversed through, that is, the American West. As a marketing strategy, this imagery was a way to connect with the romantic notion of the rugged natural beauty that was the American West, adding to the appeal of its passengers traveling across open countryside who were treated to the untamed, unspoiled, majestic scenery that could only be found in the American West. The Santa Fe Super Chief traveled from LA to Chicago. The Santa Fe Railroad Super Chief was the first diesel cross-country passenger service pulling Pullman passengers in 1936. The early version was pulled by steam locomotives and was meant to supplement Santa Fe's existing California limited train service. The Chief became Santa Fe's flagship route, and it made the 2,227-mile LA to Chicago trip in 63 hours. The Super Chief was in direct competition with passenger trains such as Pacific Limited, operated by the Milwaukee Road, Union Pacific, and Southern Pacific, and the Overland Limited UP service from Chicago to San Francisco. However, Santa Fe had the advantage of offering direct service from LA to Chicago using their own trains, eliminating transfers from one service carrier to another. Santa Fe's single carrier service led to their famous slogan, Santa Fe all the way. In 1937, Santa Fe purchased several Electromotives, new Streamline series diesels, and placed them in service on the Super Chief line. These locomotives were the first to wear Santa Fe's red, yellow, and silver war bonnet color scheme. Lightweight stainless steel cars became standard on the line in 1938, and a luxurious dome car was added to the train between 1950 and 51. The dome car even featured a speedometer in the front of the car so passengers could see just how fast they were traveling. The Super Chief carried sleeper cars, dining cars, an observation car, and even offered a barbershop and shower or bath. Sleeping accommodations were also available in private dining rooms, bedrooms, or individual berths. Known as the swankiest streamliners of its time, the interior styling was based on Native American motif. Fine polished woods lined the interior, and the upholstery, carpets, and walls were accented in turquoise, red, orange, black, and white. Navajo patterns were used throughout, and the cars were given Navajo's name. Hollywood celebrities frequently rode the fashionable trains, making it known as the Train of the Stars. And the trains were frequently used in movie backdrops of that time. The Santa Fe Chief made its final voyage in May of 1968. In 1984, Amtrak was given permission to use this service and was renamed Southwest Chief, and operates today with 40-plus hours service between Chicago to LA, offering one of Amtrak's most scenic routes. So that's a little bit of history on the Santa Fe Railroad. You know, it's important to note another notable passenger service at that time that competed, I'm sure, with the Santa Fe. It was well known, was called the California Zephyr. It ran between Chicago and LA. From 1949 to 70 on, it was divided into three sections using the Chicago Burlington Quincy, Denver Rio Grande, and the Western Pacific roads. So the first engine we have up here for Lionel on the upper level on the outside loop, it's only fitting that this would be Lionel's first diesel offering, as the F3 here, popular design. This was probably the design that ultimately led to steam's demise. So, you know, we ended with steam and we're running right into the diesel era now. Lionel offered the Santa Fe F3 its first issue in 1948. It was the 2333, and it was also the most popular of all the engines Lionel produced in the post-war period. And one could argue, even until this day, I believe this is still one of the more popular models sought out by most hobbyists, other than maybe the Polar Express. So Lionel also produced, along with the Santa Fe here, the New York Central. These were the first road names produced, also using the same 2333 cab number. If you notice, the post-war era, steam, you had 4-digit cabs were 027 and 3-digit cabs were O. And now we're into the diesel era, and they came up with 2300 for these F units. I'm not sure where that came from, but Lionel would always use 4-digit numbers on these diesels. They were equipped with dual horizontal worm drive pull-more motors that made a growling sound. Lionel changed the cab number in 1950 to 52 to the 2343, which is this model here. The both A units of this set is a 2343. Those B units are a modern model, but you know, other than they look newer, they're identical to the post-war, down to the wire grills on top. The 2343 here has all the same details as the 2333, only this model came with the newly adopted magnet traction that was new for 1949. And subsequent models like the 2353 that was brought out to replace the 2343s in 1953, and then again the 2383 succeeded the 2353. Each succession brought out were less detailed than the earlier models. Lionel also began production of the 027 models with a single vertical Postwar motor and changed the numbering designation to 22 from 23, with the first being the Santa Fe 2243, followed by the 2245 Texas Special. The 2343 here has screens on the roof vents, portholes with lenses, front grab bars, side ladders, and electronic coil couplers on the front ends. It's equipped with magnet traction, a horn operated by a D-cell battery, and a 3-position E unit with control lever under the diesel, as you can see here, which sometimes train room gremlins can flip that on me without me knowing it, and then the train stops running. This particular model is powered by 2 dual worm drive Postwar motors also. There are 3 variations of the 2343 here. Variation A has the large GM decal on the sides and convex celluloid porthole covers. That's your 1950 version. Variation B has smaller black and white GM decal with snap-in porthole covers. That's 5152. And variation C apparently had a yellow molded body and was in production in late 1950 into 51. For that reason, I've never known what this set actually is, because it's lacking the GM decals that are supposed to be on there. It's never had them when I bought it. I don't know if they've been removed. It's didn't have it on either the A unit, powered or dummy, on either side. So it's been hard for me to try to identify just the year this particular model was produced. I do know it doesn't have that yellow molded body. I'm going to guess this is probably an early production of it. So that's Lionel's first introduction with diesel. The second is over there on the inner city loop. Let me get to it. Okay, there's something in case you guys have never seen these. I thought it would be good to show you real quick. Take a look here under the hood. You see that? Now you need to get up a little bit closer. No, closer. You see that? No, I'm not talking about all that grime and dirt in there. I'm talking about those motors. You don't think that they actually would put a motor like that in a toy, do you? And, you know, in case you have never seen these before, I thought you might like to take a peek at them. So that's what the inside of your post-war dual-motored engines look like. Not much in there, a couple of motors and an E unit and a light bulb. So just in case you were wondering, that's what it looks like. Next up, here in Lionel's second diesel offering in the lineup is the NW2 switcher. Its claim to fame is this was the model that introduced the first ever model, diesel or steam, with magnet traction. The Lionel NW2 switcher began production as a test model for magnet traction in 1949. First produced with the road name Santa Fe in both an O gauge version, 622, and an 027 gauge version, number 6220. These switchers were great runners with electronic coil couplers and a bell. This 027 version and the C-board number 6250 would be the only two switchers that would have 4-digit designations for 027 sets. All subsequent NW2s would have 3-digit designations somewhere on the body and were produced up until the end of the post-war period that ended in 1969. So here's your models, last models Lionel produced with the 4-digit and 3-digit numbering on the cabs. And as you can see here, that there was only 2 produced that were like that. Other than that, all the rest of these had just 3-digit. And the models that were produced were the number 600 MKT, the number 601 and 602 C-board, the 610 Erie, 611 Jersey Central, 613 Union Pacific, 614 Alaska, 622 and a 623 Santa Fe, a 624 Chesapeake and Ohio, a 633 and 634 Santa Fe, a 635 Union Pacific, and of course the 6220 Santa Fe as discussed, and the 6250 Seaboard. Not mentioned here is the trailing unit here. These are both powered, by the way. There's not a dummy in a powered unit. These are locked in direction to run in only one direction. That's what I like about the Postwars, by the way. Once you lock them into that direction, unlike the modern stuff, they don't somehow switch out of it. They stay that way until you're ready to switch them back. So the models we're looking at here, the 623 is the post-war version that was produced after the 622 and the 6220. It's identical to those models without a bell. So it did come complete with everything that those models came with, except for the bell. And these have the Pullmore motors that are, in my opinion, some of the best that Lionel ever produced. These are excellent runners, both low-end and high-end run capability for a conventional engine. So the 623 Santa Fe was produced 1952 to 54. It was black with white letters and blue Santa Fe decal. It was equipped with an E unit, reversing unit, and an antenna, an ornamental bell, an ornamental horn, and it had the bug-eyed marker light lenses on the front here, unlike the 616 here. And it was also equipped with electronic coil couplers, and it had both front and rear illumination. It does have 2-axle magnet traction. The 623 NW2, there's 2 variations. Variation A, handrail is attached by 12 or 10, maybe it is. Let's count 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. 10 stanchions, so there's 10 stanchions that support the handrail. And variation B, handrail is attached by only 3 stanchions. Like I said, these are excellent runners, and they're identical to the 622 except for the mechanical bell. This also runs on O or 027 track. It'll run on either. Now the 616 here, it's also a post-war version. It wasn't brought out until much later. Its notable features were that it was black with the white safety stripes front and rear of the locomotive. Had the safety stripes on it. And it's equipped with a horn. So this does have a horn that's controlled by a C-cell battery, I believe. There's no decorative horn or bell, no horn or bell. These didn't come with those. It also did not have the antenna wheel or the marker lights. But the holes for them, oddly, are there. So you could put the horn and bell in because the holes are molded in. Not only that, but there's also a slot here for the E-unit lever, which is underneath the locomotive, so it didn't stick through the shell of the locomotive. And some have operating disc couplers on both ends with a headlight only. They had a single pull-more motor with 2-axle magnet traction, an E-unit, reversing unit with lever on the bottom. There are 3 variations. Variation A, body with open directional unit like this one and bell slots like this one. That's the 1961 variation. That was the first year for these. Variation B, body has open bell slot, but the direction slot here is plugged. That's 1962. Variation C, body has both the bell and the direction slots plugged. That's also a 1962. So these were produced 2 years. This version here, I believe, is the version that does not contain operating couplers. So that's kind of a bummer. So I'm guessing the other one is the one that has the operating couplers, but it does not have the horn. So just depending on the year you bought this, what features they were equipped with. So that's Lionel's second addition to the post-war era on the diesels. The next one is back here. We'll go back and take a look at it. Up next here is Lionel's third edition. And this was introduced as the 50th anniversary set, by the way, is the Lionel Alco 2023 FA, produced in 1950. It was smaller than the EMDF3, and in reality, these were the real deal. These engines would have been approximately the same size, so it's considerably scaled down for this model, which was always puzzling to me because the 2343 here, it does have dual motors, so that's one thing, but it does have the horn in the A unit down here, that's the dummy unit, whereas your FAs are a single motored engine, and the horn is in with the motorized unit. So that's kind of always was kind of stood out to me as kind of an odd feature. But you know, the 2343 up there does have two horizontal motors, so it does take up quite a bit of space. So Lionel designed this to run on the smaller radius of 027 gauge track. Why it was likely compressed. with the yellow version being the UP 50th anniversary engine. Lionel had production problems with the gray paint color on the nose, so only the first production was painted like this and is rare. This set here is pretty common, where you've got the gray roofs and the yellow body. It does not have the gray on the top of the nose here. So this would not be the rare version. All came with a single vertical worm drive Pullmore motor, and earlier versions had electronic coil couplers like this version here. They also had 4-digit cab numbers that were shown in the marker lights. So this does have the 4-digit cab number 2023, and also has it on the marker lights. Later versions would have no number shown here, and a 3 or 4-digit number would be painted somewhere on the side of the diesel for an identification. Now, some of those latter models was a completely different shell. They weren't even the same shell. The coil coupler was replaced with a magnetic disc coupler, and this coupler bar or strut that was produced for these models after 1957 tended to cause a lot of problems, and Lionel offered a replacement part number 204-78 nose support to all their service stations, I guess to correct that problem. In the last years of production, the first coupler would be completely removed, or the front coupler would be completely removed, and the coupler pocket filled in. Battery damage is likely a common issue with these models equipped with horns. You know, all my locomotives, you know, you hear these described as finicky sometime. This model here, in fact, all three of these models I have here from Lionel with horns all had battery damage. I was able to remedy that. The way to remedy that is you have to completely disassemble all the horn, especially where the battery goes. All of that has to be, not so much the relay, but the part where the battery goes. All those components have to be completely disassembled. And then I burnish them all with a Scotch-Brite pad, clean it all up, and get it back down to bare shiny metal, and you won't have horn problems anymore, provided you have a good battery in there. So that's the 3 Lionel models we have for this week, and on that inner loop up there up top is the Marx number 21 diesel. These were produced from 1950 to 54. It's supposed to be a model of an FT AA set. It also came with scale cars, template cars, as you can see here. Similar to the scale cars, template cars, only these are, what sets these apart, these all had the larger D-style Marx trucks on these models. And, you know, I thought these came with 4 cars, but maybe they only came with 3. I thought this tank car, I know these taller wheels were designed to run with these F units just because they're using the scale template cars. They would have been too low in looks with these diesels. It's no mistake that this diesel here that Marx produced, this tin diesel, was in a direct response to Lionel's F unit here. The the thing that makes it kind of odd that this would be an FT, you know, this is your actual model of an FT here. So there's your FT. This is a Lionel. It's a modern. And you can see there's a lot of difference between an F3 and an FT. So the FTs had these louvers on top. They didn't have fans. If you notice, this model has fan. Now, it does have the 4 porthole windows that are close together. That would distinguish it as an FT. But the FTs did not have these cooling fans on top. These were the F3s that had those. And if you notice here, your F units have 4-wheel trucks. And for some reason, Marx put on the... I mean, these are only 4-wheel, but they have the 6-wheel side frames on here. So those would have been like on an E unit, like what we have down here. So your number 21 diesel from Marx, it's kind of a mismatch of different models. So that would be your number 21 diesel. Like I said, I think this was only produced up to 54. And I believe it was in 52 that Marx produced the plastic E7s that we see down here on the lower outside loop. And this would be your 1095 Santa Fe war bonnet from Marx. It was a model of an E7. Like I said, they were introduced in 1952. They came as A units in 52. The B units, as shown here, did not come about until 1955. So this set was sold this way, so this is telling you this is a much newer set because this was the Santa Fe passenger set. It was sold this way initially. This particular model was equipped with the diesel roar feature. I disconnected it because it wasn't working right, and it was just causing too much power drain on the motor, and it just wasn't working right. So it didn't make sense to leave it, so I did take it out, unfortunately. The first of these were issued with a single reduction motor with fat wheels. Much like the 10 version up here, these have a very unique drive motor in them. As you can see here, the whole unit swivels back and forth. And you can see these fat wheels here that they're talking about. Your gear cogs are all the way out here to the edge of the wheel flanges, which is what gives these problems of running through your Lionel turnouts. These down here, this is a lot more modern engine. The way I know this is a newer than a probably 55 is some of these 1095s, the early versions, were produced with that same style of motor that had the cogs clear out here to the edges of the flanges. But you can see this one here is a modern version, complete with plastic gears in here. And it came with 2 rubber traction tires. So it made these very good units. You can see how simplistically these are made. They're just basically a hollow shell. And there's just a single screw that holds this whole motor assembly. You pull that screw, this whole motor drops out. So they're very easy to work on and service. Don't really need to remove these trucks for anything. These trucks are riveted in, but your motor trucks are always bolted in. So it's not uncommon that these side frames break. Robert Grossman does offer replacements for these. In fact, they offer a lot of replacements. They offer these replacement steps that can get broke off, and then these horns. So there's still quite a few items, the last that I knew anyway, when I bought them, were still available several years ago. I haven't bought anything from them in several years, but as far as I know, that stuff's all still readily available. And the 1095 here is produced with the double reduction, or single double reduction motor, and traction tires, and they also have weighted motors. The Marx E7 diesels here, 1095, was very close to 3/16 scale in both length and height, but it was wider than that due to the motor that swiveled from side to side, enabling it to go around the smaller radius of 027 curves. The actual E-unit diesels were almost 1/3 longer in length than an F unit. So by comparison, this E-unit is about as long, and it should be quite a bit longer. Almost, like I said, 1/3 again longer, the actual E-unit as compared to an F unit. That's just the differences in the scales there. These, the actual E-units here, they were appreciated for having dual 567 prime movers in them. This feature was capable of powering a single locomotive should a prime mover fail. They still had a second one to get home on. So that's rundown of the engines we're going to see running tonight. And I think the next thing is, let's get these on the road and running. We'll get things started off here. Check, see if the horn's working. Yep. Okay, first up, the Lionel 2343 F3 on the upper level here. Now the Marx 21. And now we'll run the Lionel Alco FA. Check out horn. Okay, now the Marx 1095. See, these little Alco units are pretty decent pullers. Those are some pretty heavyweight die-cast cars that are directly behind it. And of course, we all know the 2343s have excellent pulling power. Those passenger cars are quite heavy. Even the little Marx here, decent slow running speed. See if we can get this 21 to slow down a little. Yeah. This is all conventional. I'm not jockeying the throttle to keep this running at a consistent speed, so don't let anybody tell you how crappy these Postwar motored engines are. If your Postwar motor engines aren't running well, that tells me it's not lubricated properly or broke in. Because once they're lubricated and adequately broke in, you won't have any more problems running them. Slow. If slow is what you're after, even the little Marx over there has got decent slow running. So don't let anybody tell you these things are rockets. Yeah, they can be. Well, that's tonight's run session. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I think if you guys are stumped on the Nirvana question, the landmark that the Santa Fe Railroad used to establish their route was the actual Santa Fe Trail. So, which ran from Franklin, Missouri, all the way to Santa Fe, New Mexico. It did traverse from east to west through the entire state of Kansas. And that's our show for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Until next time, you're watching Dale's Rails. Thanks to all my new subscribers, and thanks for watching.